I'd like to open the regular planning board meeting for Tuesday, September 24th. It's at 6 o'clock. First up, and we're being video recorded and video, are we going out live? Yeah, we're going out live on the town channel. First up is an administrative item. 1429 Main Road, file number 24-022SP-CD. We need to close the public hearing and release the consultant review fees.
You want a motion, Mr. Chair?
Well, I think I need to explain this a little bit. The public hearing for 1429 Main Road was not formally closed at the September 10th meeting. So this is what we're doing now, so please.
Can you hear me? I move to close the public hearing for AP 84 Lot 21D 1429 Main Road, Westport.
Second.
Now do you want a motion on the funds?
No, I have to do that one first.
Okay.
So all those in favor?
Aye.
Next, now another sample motion to release the funds.
Okay. I would move to close out and release the consultant review fees and the interest for Plat 84 Lot 21D after all the invoices from NBL Land Development have been paid.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Next of the administrative items is approval not required. A&R 218 Horseneck Road, AP 45, Lot 5, file number 24-029A. Request by the applicant for endorsement of one buildable lot for a plan of land located at 218 Horseneck Road, Assessor's Map 45, Lot 5. Do we have anybody here to present that?
The applicant is not here, but it's a straightforward A&R, so I can go over it.
Okay.
Here's the parcel in context of the larger neighborhood. Here's the plan that they have submitted. Both parcels are going to front on Horseneck Road. Proposed lot, which is this right here, is going to have 150 feet of frontage on Horseneck Road, and the principal lot, which is this larger piece that surrounds it, will have 1,271 feet of frontage on Horseneck Road. Horseneck Road conveys adequate access to both respective lots, and the proposed lot would have 3.69 acres of uplands and no wetlands. The principal lot would have 41.47 acres of uplands and 1.8 acres of wetlands. Therefore, both lots are considered buildable and conform to the town of Westport zoning bylaws, section 7. The reason why, and just a little bit of context on this plan. So this land around here, around these two special use areas, it's all in conservation. And so per the conservation restriction that they have, they were allowed to have a house on the principal lot, which is this square special use area, and this kind of odd-shaped polygon here, and that is also another buildable area for a single-family home or something like that. So that's the context on where this is coming from. The rest of the land is in conservation. So this does meet the criteria for A&R endorsement, and so I recommend the board endorses the plan.
So this isn't the lot where Buzzards Bay Brewing is?
I'm not familiar with which lot or which property owners own the abutting land, but this is land trust land in the back. So I do know that.
No, I mean the big lot itself.
Well, it says it's being done for William Russell, so.
No, I don't think it is, Jim.
No?
I don't think it is. That driveway is all different.
Yes, it's pretty much straight, so.
So when this land was put under conservation restriction, was this lot one that we're looking at now, was that excluded initially, or are they carving it out now?
I only know, basic facts of whether or not this meets the criteria for A and R endorsement. I don't know all the history, which is something that they don't have to answer, but they're not here today.
Okay, so the conservation restriction is owned by who? Yeah.
I do not know.
And this other special use area, that was already carved out of this? With the other houses? Area number 2?
To my understanding, yes, and they're just showing where those special use areas are, where they can have residential development on that lot. It's not part of the A and R, so you could, it's really like an overlay on the map.
That's not intended to show a lot, right?
Right.
Well, does anybody have any concerns, comments, questions?
Well, I don't know anything about the conservation restriction, and the cutting out lot 1, that looks like it conforms with our standards. It's 150 feet wide, and it's got 150 feet of frontage, it's more than 150 feet wide. If this special use area, which I don't know what that is, and if that refers to something in the conservation restriction, I don't know. But if that didn't have meets and bounds around it, I wouldn't have any problem with approving this plan. It looks like it cuts out a compliant lot in the street, and then you have one big lot that has an existing house on it. All of that looks okay to me.
But it appears that they won't have access to the frontage, and that they're gonna have to use that driveway as access.
Yeah,
Because
but
it looks like it's part, it
that
looks like,
driveway sits in the lot that the house is on, so I don't have any trouble with that.
I guess it's not our problem, so.
Yeah.
But,
No, the special use area, it shouldn't be the building.
this isn't a public hearing, but is there anybody here for this? So, your recommendation is it meets all the requirements?
It meets all the requirements for A and R endorsement.
Okay, I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the endorsement of the plan entitled Approval Not Required Plan AP 45, Lot 5, 218 Horseneck Road, Westport, Mass, because the plan complies with the provisions of Mass General Laws, Chapter 41, Section 81P.
Second.
Comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next up would be the 6:15 public hearing, but it's 5 minutes too early, or a few minutes too early, so let's move on to you want to do the planner's report?
Yeah, I can start, and then I hit 6:15, we can move on. These are quick updates too. Regarding the Watauga Connector shared use path, we contracted with Part Engineering, and I'll go out, then we'll do a kickoff meeting on Thursday, and we'll do a site visit.
Can you explain what that is for the TV audience?
Sure, so it's a shared use path that we're going to design from the terminus of the Quequechan River Rail Trail to approximately Old Bedford Road, where it intersects with Route 6. So it's a small, about 1,200 foot long stub of shared use trails, so for biking, walking, recreation activities. And we'll be developing a conceptual design for that to advance it through the Transportation Improvement Program, which is a state program for funding transportation infrastructure. Next is the Aquatic Organism Passage Grant update. This was a $3.47 million grant request I submitted yesterday with the help of Buzzards Bay Coalition and Gomez and Sullivan Engineers. This is for the designs of the culverts at Snow Creek, Angeline Brook, and Lyons Brook on Cornell and Drift Road to right-size those culverts to be able to accommodate increased stormwater flows in the future as climate changes and storm events become more severe. But also more importantly for this grant is that it will better enable the passage of cold water brook trout to the spawning grounds, which is currently mostly obstructed in these three different locations. The grant would carry the project through engineering, design, and construction.
And construction.
And construction, yeah. So
Wow.
we're looking at probably about a 2027, 2028 completion date.
So what's the amount of the grant then? It does construction?
$3.47 million.
And, I'm sorry,
You're not Mission Impossible anymore?
well, no, that's my new watch, making that noise. I don't know how to stop it, so. So who's the source of these funds?
This is going through the Department of Transportation, Federal Department of Transportation. It was an underutilized grant resource in the last funding round. The grant program is appropriated to have $200 million a year, and that's nationally, and it's not just for Massachusetts, but there's a lot of funds available for it, and they did not even get near that $200 million amount last year. So we're hopeful that with our request, we'll be able to get complete funding for it.
That's fantastic.
Alright, so it's 6:16 if you want to move to the.
Yep, so we'll go back to the 6:15 public hearing. It's for 720-726 Old County Road, file number 24-003-SP-CD-MOD, continued from April 2nd, May 21st, and June 18th of 2024. The applicant is requesting a modification to the special permit for common driveway.
Good evening. For the record, Steve Giosso with SciTech Engineering, representing the applicant this evening. It's been a while since we've been before you. This is a request for a modification to a previously granted special permit for a common driveway. The applicant created 3 lots that would be served by this for new construction. 2 of the lots have been built on. You can see the new dwellings here at the base. There's a lot in between that has not been constructed on at this point. But the special permit granted a common driveway permit for a gravel drive. The applicant, in the intervening years, has paved it. And since that is a change from what was approved by the board, we were requested to file this application for a amendment to the original special permit. When we had the first meeting on this project, we did present what we thought would be a adequate mitigation for this particular location by proposing a Cape Cod berm to be set along the edge the westerly edge of the common driveway, where there was concern from an abutting landowner that they wanted to make sure we weren't contributing to an ongoing drainage problem they have on their property. So we are proposing a Cape Cod berm on that edge and carry that down beyond the low point, which exists in this middle section here of the site. After that original meeting, the board voted to refer this project to an outside peer review consultant. You selected Field Engineering to do that review. And then also in that time period between the meetings, the applicant put in a concrete base about 95 feet long to stabilize a fence that he'd been having a lot of problems with, collapsing all the time. So he felt that this would be a way of stabilizing that section of fence. That 95 feet is right in this area here, so from about station 4 plus 90 to about station 5 plus 95 on that western edge, where there is and has been a stockade fence for many years. He did put in a concrete base there. And so we were asked to survey the location of that. We had to wait for Romanelli. John Romanelli did the survey, located it, put it on the plan. We also provided drainage analysis to the peer reviewer detailing the runoff generated from a compacted gravel drive versus the paved surface for comparison purposes, just to make sure that we were not altering the drainage flow through this area by the applicants having paved this particular driveway. So the board wanted Field to review the field conditions here and also the drainage analysis. We know that they issued a letter on the 20th, which we've had an opportunity to review. With regard to the drainage calculations, they've concluded that our analysis accurately represents the conditions both with a gravel drive and paved drive, and that there's no material change in runoff, both in peak flow or runoff volume, which you would expect given the nature of compacted gravel, which has a runoff curve number around 95, and pavement, which has a runoff curve number 98. Not a heck of a difference in numbers there, so we did not expect to see a big change, and we think the numbers verify that. So it looks like Field agrees with that portion of our analysis. They also looked at our proposal to put a Cape Cod berm on that western edge. They thought that was an appropriate mitigation measure that would divert water from the paved driveway from that low spot, keep it from collecting, even though we don't believe there's an ongoing problem from the applicant's property, but we think it's in keeping with being a good neighbor and trying to get that in place. So it appears Field agreed that that would be a appropriate mitigation measure. One suggestion regarding that they made is they suggested that we add some crushed stone where the Cape Cod berm would terminate. We can just zoom out a little bit. And so we're terminating the Cape Cod berm approximately here on the plan. And at this point, they're asking for some crushed stone. The applicant actually has crushed stone. I talked to him just before the meeting. He actually already has crushed stone in that area, but we could show that as a supplemental detail on the plan, just in keeping with the recommendation of Field Engineering. So we think it's a good idea. As the water is coming down on that edge, it's going to cascade off into a swale that was created on that edge, but having some crushed stone there would avoid it becoming an erosion point on the applicant's property, but it still would be a good feature. Because at this point, the topography drains very clearly from elevation 105 down to 101 onto the applicant's property. So that crushed stone would be to protect his property, but we think it's a good idea. And in fact, the applicant has informed me he already has some crushed stone there, but we can detail that on a final plan for the board. And then finally, they suggested a subdrain along that western edge from basically the point where we're adding the berm to the termination of the berm area. There already is a crushed stone swale that has been created here. We think it serves the same purpose. I talked to the applicant, and the crushed stone does run continuously down through this area, but we can again detail that on any final revision to the plan to make sure it's memorialized in any approval that you may be inclined to grant. Those are the only comments from field engineering, so we don't think that there are any outstanding issues. We would agree with their recommendations, so we're not contesting what they've asked us to implement in this case. And I think that's an update on where we are from the last time we appeared before you.
I have a question. The roadway is already asphalt, right?
Yes.
The Cape Cod berm has already been
No,
constructed? It has
it
not?
has not. We would need your permission to do that before we could implement that.
And you said in regards to the conduit that there would be gravel that would serve the purpose, but it's not continuous, so you would make that continuous?
We would make sure that if it's not continuous, we would make it continuous all the way from the beginning to the termination of the common driveway, yes.
Okay, and you can do that because you haven't constructed the berm yet?
That's correct.
Gotcha.
Comments from the board? Questions?
I got a question. So, common driveways are limited to 3 lots.
Yes,
So is the access to the corner lot from Old County Road?
yes.
So this is only providing access to those 3, the 2 that are already built and this 3rd?
That's correct.
Right. And what's the total length?
The common driveway is just under 700 feet. It's about 670 feet because the baseline ends at Station 7, which is 700 feet from the beginning of the baseline, and the baseline originates in the center line of Old County Road. So the width of the roads is probably about 680 feet or so of common driveway.
Isn't it supposed to be, Michael, isn't it limited to 500 feet maximum length for a common driveway?
I'd have to check the zoning bylaw regulations, but they're not, the common driveway's already received.
We've already approved this.
Yeah, the
So
common
this was
driveway
approved
was
before-
approved up to this point here, which is the
Oh.
termination point. That was approved 7 or 8 years ago when this was originally
So
approved
this
by the
is
board.
just to approve this additional,
Yeah, what we're looking for is approval for this paved surface, the addition of the Cape Cod berm, and the crushed stone supplemental mitigation recommended by field engineering.
Mr. Chair, I think the addition of the Cape Cod berm and that little drainage swale at the end is a good idea, and it's a neighborly thing to do to make sure the water doesn't, I mean, the road is pitching down all the way, and I think having the Cape Cod berm to guide the water down in the gutter is all a good thing to do.
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Yes.
So in the original design, did we meet all the stormwater runoff requirements for the reduction?
Yes, so the original design met all the applicable stormwater regulations. We are actually not within 100 feet of a wetland, but from a stormwater management standpoint, the regulations in effect at that time, we did meet those standards.
So the reduction, you had the
Correct.
reduction.
That's correct.
How was that accomplished?
Again, there was, the flow coming down here is buffered to the wetlands by about 100, maybe 150 feet to the wetlands beyond the end of the driveway. The 3 lots are actually exempt from the Massachusetts stormwater protection regulations because it's under 4 lots. So that provision of the wetlands regulation didn't apply. Each of the houses are standalone, so they were developed independently with, Tom, I don't remember, did you put recharge for the roof on those houses or no? I don't think they were required by Board of Health Yeah, they weren't required by the Board of Health or any other regulations in town. So again, the regulations that apply, this does comply with. You've actually got a fairly flat swale here, so what you're seeing is when this driveway, without the berm and the water getting in here, really traveled slowly through this area, but there is a gradient down here, and then it continues, probably drops another 4 feet or so down to the wetland system beyond the last house, so. But this is what was approved originally.
And the wetland system's on their property anyway, so.
That's correct, yes. And after the house was built, I think there was a garage built on the lower lot. And Chris Capone had reviewed that and agreed that even that garage was out of the jurisdictional area, is in compliance, so.
So, Steve, I just wanted, it's been so long since we approved this, what, 7 or 8 years or so?
About that, yeah.
I can't remember where these lots get the frontage. Is it from this common driveway, or?
Yeah, no, the frontage loops over to the, did you have the assessor's map up earlier?
Yeah.
Oops, there we go.
Oh,
So,
I see.
the common driveway runs through this strip here, then the frontage is on the opposite side of the existing house, or the original house. And you can see the wetlands on this map, although it's not 100% accurate, but to give you an idea, the general slope of the land is down to this finger of wetlands that is sent through here.
Okay. This is a public hearing. Is there anybody here that wishes to ask a question or make a comment? Okay.
Want a motion, Mr. Chair?
Yes, well, I'd like,
Oh, you want to close the public hearing?
I'd like to hear what he
Oh, yeah.
suggests first.
My suggestion is that the board approve the special permit modifications with the recommendations of the consulting engineer.
Okay. And we should make the consulting engineer's report part of the file, correct? Okay.
Correct, yeah, and I have sample conditions too.
Okay. So I would entertain a motion to close the hearing.
I move we close the public hearing on 720, 726 Old County Road.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now, if you could guide us with the conditions?
So some boilerplate conditions, a plan suitable for recording shall be submitted with the following statements and conditions, subject to special permit modification pursuant to the town's common driveway bylaw, section 8.5, granted on September 24th, 2022 by the Westboro Planning Board and recorded in the Bristol County Southern District Registry of Deeds with the applicable book and page number. The stormwater management systems shall be designed and maintained to comply with the Board of Health stormwater regulations. The integrity of the edge of the public roadway pavement shall be protected, and stormwater, sand, silt, mulch, and other debris shall be kept off the road and out of town drainage systems. Upon completion of the project, the applicant shall ensure that the edge of the paved road is supported and not undermined. Any construction damage to the edge of the town road shall be repaired by the applicant, and the applicant's plans shall be modified accordingly and approved by the town planner and the consulting engineer. The common driveway plan must be revised to show the crushed stone edge drain along the paved driveway, the point of termination of the Cape Cod berm to the end of the driveway. The applicant's engineer must confirm and delineate on the common driveway plan the existing topography off the road at the point where the Cape Cod berm terminates towards the existing wetlands to the north. And finally, the common driveway plan must be revised to demonstrate the crushed stone subdrain from the low point around Station 6 towards the northerly wetland system to ensure that water that may collect in this area has relief from the common driveway and the westerly abutters.
Okay, then I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the special permit application modification of 720, 726 Old County Road, Westport, for property located at 72026 Old County Road, Westport, assesses map 34, lot 46C, pursuant to Westport zoning law bylaws, section 8.5, permit for a common driveway, subject to the findings, and there was a finding, although it wasn't read, but there is a finding and conditions as read into the record.
Second.
Any comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you. Next is the 6:30 public hearing for 203 Mouse Mill Road, file number 24-026 SPA. The applicant is requesting to construct a 7,200 storage building for the manufacturing business located at 683 American Legion Highway. Applicant is requesting a continuance, I think?
Correct.
Okay.
Well, good evening, Mr. Chair, Board, Matt Pike with South Coast Engineering, here on behalf of the applicant. The site plan for proposed 7,200 square foot storage building. So 203 Mouse Mill Road is located on the west side of Mouse Mill Road, just south of American Legion Highway. So the property is owned by William and Paula Wright, who are also the owners of AMA Engineering, which is located next door at 683 American Legion Highway. The purpose of this plan is to show the construction of a 7,200 square foot storage building, a stormwater system, and the associated grading at 203 Mouse Mill Road. So although the building will be located at 203 Mouse Mill Road, it's going to be used for the business that's located at 683 American Legion Highway. So as far as the stormwater system, it's been designed so that the stormwater and discharge are reduced for all the storm events. The proposal meets all the zoning requirements as related to building height, lot coverage, and yard setbacks. It does not meet the zoning requirement regarding parking spaces. It's our opinion and the applicant's opinion that the proposed building is only going to be used for storage and shouldn't increase any additional parking demand. There's one waiver regarding the requirement of the perimeter buffer. This request is from the Westport Site Plan Rules and Regulations. And so in lieu of a perimeter buffer, existing landscaping will be maintained. There's a 10-foot row, 10-foot high row of arborvitaes along the north side and also the east side, and then there's another proposed rows of arborvitaes that will fill in space, as well as other existing vegetation that will remain. In addition to that, the building's set back approximately 300 feet from the front of the frontage. And so based on the peer and the planner reviews, there were a handful of minor revisions that were requested, one of which was to perform at least 2 observation holes. We performed those holes on the 20th and confirmed that the water table and the soil types are consistent with the proposal. That data, along with any required revisions, will be included in the next submittal. I just received the recommendation from the fire department, and I think there's a slight miscommunication with what they're requesting here. So they said there's a design for 12 feet wide. So there's an existing cart path that comes off of Mouse Mill Road. This would be a temporary gravel drive just used for the construction of the building. That will be removed and reloamed and reseeded. There's an existing 15-foot wide fire access road that's along the east side of the building here, and we're showing just, I think it's about 23 or 24 foot extension from that. And the reason, obviously, to try to use this existing fire road to connect to this building, rather than build a long road that's 20 feet long, right from Mouse Mill Road, to reduce the impact and the amount of pervious materials that would be required to do that. So from here, I'll turn it over to the board.
Michael, can you expand that a little bit on your computer so that we can have a chance of seeing it? So. And the existing house will stay?
Correct. The existing house, in the septic, in the cart path won't be affected by the building. It'll also be shielded by the lower arborvitae that's going to be proposed there.
So they own the lot to the left where the business is now, and these two lots?
This is one lot here.
Yep.
2 or 3 miles from the road.
Yep.
The rights own that, and then the rights also own AMA Engineering at
And
683.
what's below here?
Below here is other butters.
Who's that?
All of us, well, actually, there are two that were not.
Okay, we'll get to you, don't worry. So you have an easement to change the topography of their lot?
No easement required, so there's no change in topography to any of the butters lots. Here's the property line here, along the stone wall.
So what's this other line?
That's a
Here's the
dimension
property
line.
line here. Property line here. These are fence lines.
That's just a fence line,
Yeah.
okay.
And I just want to add as well, so the stormwater path is from west to east.
And what's the distance between the change in topography there and the abutter?
I mean, probably 5 feet or so, but it's just going up to the existing tree line, so the vegetation there wouldn't be cleared.
I mean, I don't know, it's kind of hard for me to see it from here, but, so west to east, so which street does it run towards?
It runs towards Mounts Mill, there's a low point,
And
this is a type of trench.
the other commercial business that's on 177 that we have permissions, where are they on that site right now?
And they have a generally robust stormwater system as well that's been installed.
Well, we got some pictures here, a little bit of a problem there, but, so,
No, Mr. Chair, so I believe the consultant did a review of it, and she didn't find any issues with it. She actually recommended, she visited there when there was over 2 inches of rain and didn't see any standing water in any of the outlets.
did they review the as-built for that project?
It was, I did provide the project plan and stormwater calculations from the prior development.
Do we have an as-built on that project when it was completed?
I didn't provide the as-built to her.
The project was as-built, yes.
Okay, so you have the as-built?
I don't have it here with me,
Okay.
but it was as-built by South Coast.
Okay, because I believe that it's not, the grades aren't correct to the design, so that's what's creating this problem.
I can't speak to that, but I can speak to what the professional engineer that reviewed it, and she said that there was no problem.
But if she didn't have the as-built, she doesn't know what's built there, just going there, looking around after a rain event. I mean, we do have pictures here of a rain event.
I believe this, pardon me, I'm not looking to go back and forth, but I believe this area has been plagued by, water issues. Before AMA Engineering was built there, and it still does now.
Same thing with the abutter, yes.
Right. And the
But now
professional
A&M Engineering-
actually mentioned that as well.
A&M Engineering's now buying one of the abutters, that's how they purchased that house.
They own this property, correct?
Right.
Rights do.
So,
And Mr. Chair, if you don't mind as well, so there is essentially no changes to 683 American Legion Highway, except a small amount of gravel and concrete that's barely over the line, and there's an increase in impervious area in 203 Mouse Mill, about 5,000 square feet, and we're mitigating over 7,000.
I thought the building was 7,200 square feet.
Right, so we're catching 7,200 square feet of
Right.
impervious area into the.
So A&M Engineering, I can't remember which one that is.
It's the gray building, right?
Right after a car lot on the left-hand side, they
It-
manufacture conveyor belt systems. I
Right,
believe.
yeah, that's the name, it's some kind of movement. Yeah, I have been there, I remember this very well. And we had a big discussion way back when about the stormwater on Mouse Mill Road going into the state highway. And
It is, I believe it still does, there's a country drainage system there that's a pre-existing condition, correct?
And so is this increasing that on
Absolutely
Mouse
not.
Mill Road?
It decreases the rate and the volume for every storm up to 100,
Mhm.
and 100% complies with the Massachusetts regulations and the Westport regulations.
And the reason for the continuance?
Was because we didn't have the test pit until the 20th. We weren't sure if the soil evaluator was overseas. I didn't know if he was gonna get that into the test pit in time. And then also we're waiting on the comments from the fire department, which had just got at the beginning of this meeting, which I think is gonna be one of the last points of discussion that still remains.
And do you have, I can't see it on here, but do you have a line demarking the business zone versus the residential zone?
I can add that, I don't have it, but this property is, off the top of my head, over 90% in the business zone. On the plans, I have the square footages, there's 1,200 feet in the residential district, and there's almost 86,000 square feet in
This is
the
the aquifer
business
protection.
district.
And the residential district would be the right-hand bottom corner?
Yeah, there's a small, I can add that line to the next submission.
I think that would be
Absolutely.
very helpful, just to make sure you're not going over, so. This is a public hearing, so anybody who is here would like to speak or to ask a question through the chair?
Jim, I have one more question.
Yep, go ahead.
Is this in the Aquifer Protection District?
No, it's not.
Depends what we're looking at.
Don't be shy if,
Oh, she has directly here, we're gonna just kind of go for it, so.
okay. So if you could come up to the microphone. And the way we work is we need to know who you are and where you live.
David Xavier, 200 Mouse Mill Road. So basically, I'm right across the street from that property.
Okay.
When they put 5-star in, basically, it was gonna be a 20% reduction in water. That is not the case. Test holes need to be dug in the spring when it's raining,
Mhm.
and basically, my yard is underwater. It does drain out. I can only foresee this making the situation we have right now worse. Basically, as it is right now, the water is going over Mouse Mill Road and right down my driveway. When it doesn't permeate through, under my wall and come through my yard. Basically, whenever it's raining hard, not like yesterday, because it hasn't rained all month, but when it's raining in the spring or earlier in the season, my yard is basically unusable because it's now soaked. These people come in, they say, oh yeah, we're gonna make it better. This neighborhood's always been a problem, so now they're gonna pave it and make it a bigger problem than it already was. I have a problem with that. I'm paying taxes, I want to be able to use my yard. I'm very disappointed on what happened on 5-star. And I have video that I submitted where it shows the water's going into our neighborhood. It is not going, I was led to believe it was gonna go in these storm drains and disappear. It doesn't, it disappears through our yards. So, I am not agreeing with the statements that were made. People need to get there when it's raining. And the videos I took, I had to go out there in the pouring rain, thunder, lightning, because that's when the problem happens. once the water's gone, eventually that, his retention pond drains out. Problem is, it stays in my yard. So that's about where I'm gonna leave it. I guess the only other question I have is, this driveway right here, that is temporary?
Mr. Chair, yes,
Yes.
it'll be a temporary driveway.
So where will access be to that property when it's finished?
I think it will be off of Old County Road, right? I mean,
Any-
177.
Any access will be through the 683 property, all deliveries will go through there. The only access into that building will be through the concrete pad where there'll be a forklift, a small, hydraulic forklift that might bring inert materials back and forth. So there'll be no business use towards the Mouse Mill Road side.
So, Five Star is the property to the right of this, to the
Yeah,
east?
it's, right there,
Right
yep.
there.
And I'm basically right here. on the
Okay.
corner.
So, if you could tell us your experience with the stormwater, I mean, so you see it, you see the retention pond build up,
Right.
and then does it overflow?
Well, there's a pipe on the retention pond. Keep in mind, this retention pond is not what I expected. When I looked at it, I don't think it's a foot deep. So it doesn't hold that much water compared to the size of that property.
Yeah.
Basically, there's a discharge on that. The water comes flying out of that discharge, but it's basically not going down that riprap that runs down Mouse Mill on that corner, which I was led to believe was gonna go and then under the highway and disappear into the creek that runs over there. That is not the case. It basically, that flows into our neighborhoods, into our houses.
And you say
It's not every storm.
you have a video of that
There is a video we submitted. There's actually several videos I submitted.
to us?
Yeah. To Amy?
Amy, right.
Yep.
So do you have access to that?
I do, yeah.
Okay.
Do you have the as-built too that you can pull up, Mike?
That I would have to dig around for.
We need the as-built, we need the design plan
For what property?
for Five Star.
And now the other issue we ran into when we did I have approached the town about this, about when this Five Star thing happened, and then it becomes one of these situations where they're pointing to the AMA property, saying they're not taking care of their retention ponds, and nobody's taking ownership of this, and we're kind of stuck.
Okay. Well, we will try to figure it out,
Yeah.
so,
I mean, I'm all for businesses, and that's, I actually feel bad that I didn't push harder with Five Stars, that, hey, you know what, we have anything come into this town. You know, our taxes keep going up, it's the only way we're gonna bring it down.
that's right.
But now it might not at the cost of me and my sanity.
I understand your problem completely, so we're gonna dig into it and see what the solution is. So, but from looking at what they're doing here, I'd have to refer to the consulting engineer and Bob, but I don't know how that adds to that problem of Five Star.
I don't know, I have to look at this. I haven't, this is the first time I've seen that plan.
Yeah.
So basically, that's an outlet of the riprap that I thought would go into the state, basically into the river, go into the wetlands. There is literally nothing that comes, very little comes out of there compared to what actually comes out of the retention pond. So that's basically following, basically from my driveway, going up around. So this is basically what you're seeing. This is all the water that's coming out of that retention pond.
And it's supposed to go down that riprap?
That's what I thought.
Except that swale's supposed to be a lot deeper.
And then if you look at that, there's some spots where it's, there's dirt on top, so I don't even know how deep that was, so I didn't. And look at the water flowing out of that's out of the retention pond. So I would expect that to be going
Okay. Thank you.
There's one more video, I don't know if you wanted to watch that one as well.
Well, because it's hard to orient, I think we need to be able to have the plans in front of us and try to figure out where that's going and where it's coming from.
Just wanna make sure.
My name is Cecily Bagasso, from 212 Mouse Mill Road, which is across the street from the 203 Mouse Mill and next to the Exaparis's. I'll just need to echo Mr. Exaparis's statements. Once that retention pond fills, it does cross right over Mouse Mill down our driveways. My husband and I have been at that property for about 35 years, and water has always been a little bit of an issue, and I totally agree that it was since Five Star collision, it has increased exponentially. And the fear obviously is with another large building being put that more water will be diverted. Our driveway, the erosion is very extensive. In the spring, we can't use the bottom of our driveway because it's mud. We've had the expense of putting a French drain around the house to get the water away from the home. And I will also say the video of that retention pond, last spring there were ducks there. There's so much water that there were ducks. So it's a major concern, and we're just afraid that it's going to continue to get worse.
Okay. Thank you. Nadine, did you get her name?
No, I was
No.
gonna ask if you could you spell your name?
Absolutely. Cecily, C-E-C-I-L-Y, last name Bagasso, B-A-G-A-C-O.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Hello, my name is Dawn Oliver. I'm at 216 Mouse Mill Road, right on the side of them and one down from them. And I have been there for 36 years. Yes, we have had water, but the water, my kids played in these woods, so there used to be a stream. I don't know where the stream is anymore. That used to come right down here, and there was a pipe that went under the road, and over here is the tent place, and that water used to come right through, and there's a brook right here that all of that water used to run right into. I don't know where that stream is. It's gone. Everything is gone. I don't know where that water got diverted to, but there's no more stream. The back of our property is wetlands, and it also empties out into that stream. I've never gone back there because it's very wet. But what ends up happening is the water gets so much, it overflows. Mouse Mill Road is a sharp curve. The water flows over the road, and in the winter, it's a nightmare. It ices up. People come flying around that curve, and the water is just, it's awful. I can't even imagine that they would even be able to get a truck, a large truck, maybe a box truck, but up that driveway. And this is not a cop path, as they're saying. This is their driveway. It's been their driveway for the whole time that they're there. So when this swell or retention pond fills up, it backs up. Instead of going to the left toward 177, it goes to the right. And I've given a video. I've gotten out of the car, and if you look on the video, that if you watch the water, and it runs backwards. I'm not an engineer, but I can certainly see water running backwards. It goes into their driveway, floods their whole patio, floods their barn, so you can't even use that. Then if you look at the video, you can see the left of the water. It runs down their driveway, it keeps going, and then it goes down my driveway. And I get a pond in the front of my house that fills up with water. I've been there for 36 years. I know the water pattern. My kids have played in it. I have a stream on my own property. We ice skated across the street in Allen. You know, I mean, this has never been a problem since the auto place came in. The water diversion is massive. On the video, you can actually see rust lines on the property of his parking lot where the water, and his, to me, and I feel bad because that pond, I believe he tried to do the right thing. I believe that he did do, and it just has failed. It doesn't work. but he has also said that his property, initially him and the Wrights, were of the same elevation. And now, on the video also, you can see, if you just watch it, the car, it's up. You can see the roof of the car above his property. So that is not the same elevation. So all the water that's running on the Wrights property where the building is running onto the auto body, which is running right down all that paved stuff and running right into our yards. And, you know, have a business, that's wonderful. I mean, I am all for everyone being able to do what they want. We've never had a problem with any of our neighbors. We've all been there for a long time. And my concern is, his abrevieties are gonna look like my abrevieties in 1 year. Anyone who lives in Westport knows that an abrevieties and a deer, I mean, you may as well just have candy put out.
Right.
I mean, so an abrevieties is not gonna cut any type of drainage and I don't mean to be disrespectful, I've just lived here a long time. And the water problem, and Al and Deb, they thought this was canceled. If you look on the thing, I just texted her, they actually have a lawyer and an engineer. There's behind the building over here, they're getting 30% water over their leaching field. It's destroying. So it's coming out the back here, all on, they're right here. Leslie's right here, they're here. Warner, Cecily, and us. So this whole area, every single one of our properties are being affected by mismanaged water. And we were under the impression that you own your water, and your water is supposed to remain on your property and be, my water doesn't run on your property, and their water doesn't, and this has just become unmanageable, and putting up a 7,000-foot building diverts more water. We're just at, and I know you're saying you meet state and you meet everything, but clearly we're meeting it right now, and it's not working,
So,
we urge, I don't know, what do you do?
thank you.
Thank you.
I think we will try to get to the bottom of, between these two recently done properties, 5 Star and A&M, the original part, try to figure out if they have truly been built as designed, because if they were, the water should go where it's supposed to go. But water is going to go downhill. I mean, they're not going to eliminate water. They should be reducing the amount and the flow by 20% anyway from what existed before. And what I'm hearing is perhaps some of the A&M is going on to 5 Star, and 5 Star is going into the pond and going across the road and onto your properties, if I have that right. So.
Ms. Oliver, we also have the email you sent to Amy. So in addition to the comments you just gave, all of us have a copy of your email.
So we'll try to figure it out. I mean, it's not, whatever happens, it's not going to eliminate water on your property. It should reduce it and control it so it goes where it's supposed to. So,
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to make a mention. So the intent of an arborvitae is not to mitigate any type of water. That's for a visual buffer to Mouse Mill Road.
it's not going to work.
No, not as a visual buffer?
No,
No.
Oh, sure, okay.
it's an all-you-can-eat buffet.
Sure. I mean, we're open to any other type of visual buffers that the board would recommend. But I just wanted to mention as well, so in the 10-year storm, as this building is designed, is going to reduce the volume of runoff by almost 2,000 cubic feet than what exists right now. So it is going to be a benefit to the property.
So we're going to need to look at that. We haven't I don't have a copy of that, and I don't think anybody else does yet. So, we need to continue this. Michael, when can we continue this to?
Nadine, can you look that up? I also have some comments of my own as
Okay.
well to go over.
October 29th at 6:15.
Well, let's hear your comments.
Good as-built survey all the way down, right into that.
Yeah, that's what the problem is.
So these have been provided to the applicant previously, but just for the record, the fire department, they have reviewed this and they stated, they said that there should be a 20-foot wide access way to the structure. I don't know, I know that they were looking at the wrong point of access, but I don't know if they would find that the access on the eastern side of the property that's proposed would be sufficient to access the proposed structure. So that's something that would need to be submitted to the fire department for their consideration. A couple notes about the site plan. The owner of Lot 3, that needs to be shown on the site plan. That's Lot 3 is 203 Mouse Mill Road, the subject parcel. In the infiltration chamber, it shows an invert elevation of 156.67, but the invert out should be 157. We will provide the as-built for the 5-star and AMA engineering properties to the consulting engineers to have a bit of a more holistic look of how the stormwater is functioning in this vicinity. As Jim had noted earlier, that the plan sheet, the existing conditions plan sheet needs to include the delineation of the residence agriculture district and the square footage of that, which is approximately 1,200 square feet. The proposal does require a waiver from site plan standard 20.6.1. And that standard is for having a street frontage landscape buffer of at least 20 feet in width from the roadway layout. I do think that could be something that that the board could consider waiving, just because the structure isn't right at the street frontage. But obviously they're proposing landscaping in this plan, and that landscaping ought to be a deer-resistant species. The proposal does require a variance from the Zoning Board of Appeals, and that's from zoning bylaw section 8.3.1 to reduce the number of required parking spaces. I would recommend a reduction of those parking spaces, considering the use of this structure, and it would reduce the amount of impervious surfacing on the site, but that's not something for the zoning board or for the planning board to consider. And so if the zoning board does not approve that variance from the parking regulations, the applicant would be required to come back to the planning board to amend the site plan, where the planning board to approve this site plan, because there would have to be additional parking accommodated on the site, and so we would have to review that.
Mike, I got a question. So this parcel, is this parcel being added to the commercial parcel on 177? It's separate? So the frontage is Mouse Mill?
The frontage is a Mouse Mill. They're two separate sites, but the zoning bylaw does allow for two different parcels to have be served by one parking area on a different parcel.
And that would be the part on 177?
Yeah, the AMA.
So I would believe that since you're doing that, you still need to file for a Mass Highway curb cut permit with the design. And the reason I'm saying that is because the Mouse Mill, I think that's where our problem comes in with the Mouse Mill approval for 5-star. So the applicant's attorney claimed that they didn't need to apply for the Mass Highway curb cut. So when they applied for it, I believe that's why the water's not going into Mass Highway right now. So there should be some comments on that curb cut permit that made changes to our approval. And then, like,
I'll check on that, but if my memory serves me right, there was a curb cut permit for.
Right, there was a curb cut permit on 5-star.
No, for AMA.
And I'm sure there wasn't
Yeah.
that, because the engineer that did that, I'm very good friends with him, and he's always done that. It wasn't South Coast, so I know you did a curb cut on that. But
Yeah.
now that you're doing this work on that property, you still need to apply for another curb cut, and that will look at your stormwater. And what I'm saying, what their problem right now is the approval that we put forward from what the engineer told us, that stormwater was gonna go into Mass Highways drainage. And that stormwater doesn't go into Mass Highways drainage.
Five Star said they were gonna go
Right.
there.
Yes.
Correct, yeah, so you can't
Which
do
it's
that.
coming,
Mass does.
and it's
doesn't
kind of a
really tie
catch,
into their drainage system.
because now your applicant was coming at the 5 Star. So what I'm getting at is I think we need to come up with some kind of, and this was, you know, if you look back at the meetings for 5 Star, they were looking to do some drainage in Mouse Mill. So I think we need to fix this problem for the neighbors. We need to come up with some kind of drainage and maybe some not by the town, because that's what the applicant's attorney was, 5 Stars was trying to get the town to pay for this, but some drainage improvements in Mouse Mill that can possibly maybe go through an easement to dump into the wetland across the street. Because these two properties, their biggest problem is they don't have a wetland. So, you know, everybody's saying, you know, you gotta stay with, but it's nice to have a wetland to dump your stormwater in.
Right.
And now they're dumping the stormwater into our
Agreed.
road,
And
and
then
it's
just in addition to
overflowing
that,
to.
following what the peer review recommended, we'll do a full inspection of the system at AMA and clean the flared ends and do any necessary repairs that are needed as well.
I don't think you're gonna, I mean, I've watched that, I don't think there's any problems up that way, other than it is coming, you know, historically it came across, and that was what was the greenhouse and stuff over there years ago, right? And historically it came across, and it actually, now he owns the property where it used to go in instead of Mouse Mill Road. That retention pond kind of stopped that flow, and it used to go right into that front yard of that house. Yeah, and I mean, we know it's all an historical problem, and right now, and moving forward with this, you know, if we can all come together, we could probably solve this problem so that
100%,
nobody
yeah.
has a problem.
So, one more question. If you're going to access this building from 177, you're gonna come on the west side of the existing building or the east side?
The only access will be from the inside. So this would be this is what we're proposing for a fire access. And as the lieutenant or captain said, they require 20 feet.
Right.
This is currently 15 feet, so I don't know if this is gonna meet what they're asking.
So how about the other side?
To loop all the way around, there's a septic and there's stormwater systems towards the back. This is a large stormwater system here. This is a stormwater system here. There's the septic there. And
So
there's
for
additional
A&M, there was always a question about how does the fire department access the back of this building? And they approved that 15-foot,
Correct, to this extent and to this
Right.
extent.
right, no, to the back, to
Yeah,
get around to.
there's a driveway,
Right.
there's a loading dock over here, and you can
Yeah.
drive, so you can essentially access the back through. And we had originally had looked at, you know, putting a 20-foot through here, but considering the issue with the impervious area, that's why we figured, hey, maybe we can use this and make a reduction in the addition.
So is this paved all the way almost to the corner of that building already?
This is, if you go there now, it's grassed,
Grass,
but it is gravelled.
it's gravel,
But the grass has grown up through
Yeah.
the gravel, but it's still a solid driveway.
a solid
base.
driveway.
I don't mean to stand the plan on the edge, we reviewed this, but, on its head, but if, when you did the perk test, what I'm thinking is, would it be beneficial to A&M to have the storage facility actually attached to the back of their building? I know that would mean sitting over the septic system, I get that. But you think about swapping the, you know, if you could pass a perk test where the building is, then is there some inherent inefficiencies for their manufacturing process to attach, you know, the storage facility right to the building and then just do a new septic system? You know, that
You
would,
can slide it over, so the property line's here, so slide it, actually attach it, and
yeah, I mean, change the form. I don't know anything, I don't know what the inside of their building looks like, but if you think about, they're putting the building that they want to provide storage for their manufacturing on the next door property, because they don't want to tear up their septic system.
I don't know what their intentions are,
Yeah,
why they do it this way.
But
Yeah.
let's assume that's it.
Yeah.
But suppose they did the easier job of putting the septic system over there and put the building that they actually want right attached to the building. And then in this idea of having to have a forklift go outside to get into the other building and everything, they could run that right inside their building. All I'm trying to do is to look at, you know, what we have in front of the neighbors and on the street. We've had a problem. It was a problem. It's been a problem for,
Historically.
for a long time. And you know, Five Star was supposed to take their detention pond and have its overflow connect into the piece of the inlet that's on the state highway. Either that didn't happen or they did it incorrectly, because the water obviously doesn't go there. So, you know, all I'm trying to do is to look at, are there solutions? Is there another way of looking at this problem that solves their business problem, saves them money, and avoids adding anything that's tributary to Mouse Mill Road? So it's just, I don't know. You had two holes. I don't even know whether they perk or
Yeah, the two
not.
holes, originally I used the septic holes in my first report, and those were, I think, 36-inch below grade is where we hit modeling. Over here, at 84 inches, no water, and it was all sand.
Oh.
Yeah, so there was a big change from here to here.
Oh, so it actually looks favorable for a
It is,
septic
right,
system.
and that's why here, even this system.
It's a good
No,
place for a retention pond.
This system is 1,300 cubic feet, but it actually will provide almost 2,000 cubic feet of reduction because of that high infiltration rate. And that's what I mean, so that,
Yeah.
and everything from here, it's because if you see the revised stormwater report that the peer review, she asked me to include this box. From here to here is all one tributary, so if we still slide over, it's still, this is the high point here. But
Yep.
I mean, we'll definitely can explore other avenues if you think.
Yeah,
that's
I mean, it's just, if we think about accomplishing the business goal and avoiding compounding the problem, we still need a Five-Star problem whether or not that gets shifted, but we need a Five-Star solution to the problem in Mouse Mill, but you know, you should open up a conversation about that possibility.
And I think some of Five Star's problem, and it's historical, I mean, the water ran that way already, but whatever you fix on that will probably help them also. But your work that you're doing, even that fire access, will require you to do a Mass Highway curb cut permit, and they'll review your drainage. And I think when we look into this a little bit more, we're gonna see that was our problem with because the applicant's attorney said he didn't need to do a curb cut,
So
Mass Highway.
And I apologize so any revision to a site plan, if you change any pervious to impervious on something that abuts state property, you need to do a brand new curb cut. It doesn't matter if you cut a curb cut, it's you do the curb cut.
And they're gonna review your drainage.
Yeah, understood, sure.
And I believe that's what happened to Five Star, and when the board gets back into it and looks at it, they're gonna see that's what one of the issues are. And I know just by looking at it that swale's not what they drew on the plan. Basically, they said it was gonna run to that basin. Historically, it never ran to that basin. And when do you ever see a swale running on the side of the road in the opposite direction of the road?
Right.
So,
Right here. So, absolutely.
You know, it's, I mean, this discussion is very interesting. It would sure be nice, I know it's not required, but to see the drainage plan of Five Star and AMA and this plan all together and see up in that northeast, fill in this map, but.
Or work together. How about
Right.
that?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, in order to discuss it, it just helps me if we could see all three plans merged in one plan, but.
I think this project could solve all the neighbors' problems if
I hope
we
so.
looked at it the right way, so.
Okay, so,
Continuation.
continuation to October
October 29th at 6:15.
29th at 6:15. Okay,
You want a motion, Mr.
I do.
Ms. Oliver, you mentioned that there were friends who didn't come to this meeting.
She's texting me and she said, can you just say my pop?
Yeah,
I don't know if that's allowed.
so what I want you to understand is that we knew this meeting wasn't gonna make a decision, but we've had, as you know, because you participated, a lot of discussion. And so I'm gonna make a motion to continue this. And some of us have weak memories, but on October 29th, you're all encouraged to come, but I would encourage you, even though we have weak memories, you don't need to repeat everything you said today, because we will remember what you said, but please come. And please inform the people who didn't come today that, of what took place today, so they'll know the gist of the discussion today. So, Mr. Chair, I move to continue the public hearing for site plan approval, proposed storage building of Assessors Plat 35, Lot 3, 203 Mouse Mill Road, Westport, to October 29th, 2024 at 6:15.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Okay, so next is a continuation of the planner's report.
Thank you.
An update on our municipal vulnerability 2.0 plan process. So we were at, over the weekend with this group at the Artisan Fair, and we were collecting data, doing public engagement on community needs in light of climate change making storms more severe and what people might need in their neighborhoods. And I think we had a really good turnout. People were really receptive to the engagement that we were doing, and they were very appreciative that we were out in the community. So it was
So it was the busiest booth in the place.
well, I was
People all
yeah, I
walking
didn't see it
around.
from a third-person perspective.
Right.
'Cause I was
Yeah, I was there, and you look around the whole place, and you had more people all the time than anybody else.
Yeah. So we'll be doing that again on the 28th at the South Coast Harvest Festival from 10 to 8 on Saturday. It costs $10 to get into that. But if you're around, stop by, say hi. I won't be at that.
Where is it?
The Westport Fairgrounds. I won't be there, but
And Audrey will be there?
Audrey will be there. Yeah. And an update on our hazard mitigation plan. We had a meeting last week, just a team meeting last week. But we have penciled in a public meeting for the hazard mitigation plan on October 17th. It will be at the library from 6 to 8 p.m. And that's all I have.
Okay,
Can I add a couple of things, Mr. Chair, to
Sure.
the planner's report? One, there's going to be and I thank the planning department for publicizing this, an event at Kilburn Mill tomorrow night at 6 o'clock on the costs of wastewater throughout the region. And Bob Daler is going to represent the town of Westport, and I know he's going to do a great job. It's going to start at 6, and it's based on an article, really good article, written by New Bedford Light reporter Adam Goldstein that looked at the cost from Westport to Wareham, of all the communities. And the point is that we've, of course, focused on the cost of wastewater in Westport and how it's really beyond the individual taxpayers of Westport's ability to pay without significant resources from state and/or federal sources. But what Adam's article has said is we are not alone. And you can look in Dartmouth, New Bedford, Fairhaven, etc., all along, and everyone is facing the same challenge. And when I talked to Mike Rodericks a couple of days ago, I suggested to him that he might want to convene a hearing to draw attention to that, because if you look at it, it's kind of like the Bourne and Sagamore bridges. The Bourne and Sagamore bridges aren't just problems for Bourne and Sagamore. They're a federal priority, and they need federal funding in order to work. They need state funding in order to work. And if you look at the regional issues around wastewater, it's not just a Senate district, it's not just what we can raise in Westport or Dartmouth or Wareham. We need to raise the visibility, and we need to increase the size of the pie that we're competing for. I know the member of the planning board that serves on the select board has done a great job already on that. And but I think we need to keep drawing attention to the size, and the more allies we get with the other communities to do that. Tomorrow night's another opportunity to do that. The second thing, in line with Michael's report, is that we had a meeting of the Climate Resilience Committee last week, and at that meeting, Jeff Ken, who is our community outreach, had what I described as the impossible task, because we've had the first draft from all our subcommittees. And he took them all, and his challenge is how do you take 5 very different drafts. They're different in structure, they're different in font size, everything about them is different, and start to shape them into what would be a single report that looks like it comes from one committee, the Climate Resilience Committee. And he laid out how he was going to do that, and it was really well done, and you looked at it, and as I said, it wasn't the way I would do it, but it was much better than I would do it. It was really well done in terms of how it would be organized, and now it can try and see, okay, this is how the outline would be, and how everyone's ideas would fit together, and how it was really tailored from the reader's point of view, which is of course the most important audience, right? Who's actually going to read it? So that was a big step forward for the committee. I mean, we've been at it for about 3 years, and this was a gigantic step. So I just wanted you to know that.
And I think one of the things that was interesting in the approach that he makes in the organization is the idea of what is the risk, and how do we assess the risk, and to structure it that way into here's what the issue is, and here's what the risk that issue represents, which I thought was which was an excellent approach. I do have to correct one thing in the ad for the Bedford Light, because I'm on a panel with other speakers, including the head of Public Works of Fairhaven, and the head of Public Works of New Bedford, and the head of Public Works of Westport.
Congratulations.
I said, you know, that we're a far cry from having a public works department, right?
But, and again, so I would like to, you know, this board's done tremendous work on that. And looking at Mike coming aboard, and last night when you were at the select board to you know, replace Amy, and what we've done on this board is unsurmountable. And the town couldn't have done it without any one of you guys. And Mike coming in, congratulations on them grants. I mean, what I see on the sewer and water is, we're not asking for the money. The select board's opinion is they want to raise taxes for it. That's not my opinion. I think we could have built this already with grant money. And we just need to, you know, and mostly it should be the Board of Health that should be going after that stuff for the sewer and water. But we don't have a Department of Public Infrastructure, and the select board is that department. And it's just that I was trying to get an infrastructure oversight committee meeting so we can direct them, because we're breaking ground on the water main. We have surplus money in the bid that we're kicking around to put grant money out to tie residents in, and we got people calling highway looking, how do we tie in? How do we tie in? And we have nothing set up. So that's kind of important. But going on this regional thing, what you're going to speak at, Bob, one of the things that Westport has in its favor is we have a regional sewage treatment plant in Fall River.
We do.
With the capacity to take Westport. So those communities down the Cape that got to expand their system, which Fall River is doing a big regional expansion. Dartmouth's got problems, and they're trying to do an expansion. But Fall River is looking to, you know, if we do an interconnect from Westport into Dartmouth, you know, Dartmouth buys water from Fall River. Dartmouth buys water from New Bedford now, makes some of their own water. When there's problems, they connect in. So, I mean, we got a lot of good things in the future, but we need to tell, you know, these people that are in need of the sewage in the North End, that we're not going to raise taxes to do this. We need to pursue the money like we're doing with the grant money.
I agree with all of you, and I think that what John was saying about what everybody's doing, we're all competing for the same money, and we shouldn't be.
Right.
We should have, like Boston has, as the MWRA, we should have a South Coast
Right.
thing like that, so they can go after big grants and use that ability to help all the towns and cities in the area and control it and make the interconnection between Fall River and New Bedford through Dartmouth and Westport. Make the interconnection of Fairhaven outside of New Bedford and Marion, and connect it with Wareham, because Wareham is really struggling too.
Yeah.
If it's all connected and you have one overarching organization that's controlling it, I think that you can get huge amounts of money. There was an article in the paper today that the Duval Street project is costing $134 million for 2 miles or 3 miles of, I mean, that would
Removal of
have-
highway.
we
That's
could
the,
have used some of that money for water
that's
and
the
sewer.
second phase. The first phase was 80 million.
Oh, jeez.
That's 200 million. And if you look over there, that Mass Highway contract is installing the sewer and water in the ground over there. Just like the project that they have moving forward with Route 6. You know, we actually need to sit down with them and say, listen, this is your highway.
Here's a
How do we
design.
get this, right,
But,
we got it.
you know, so, since I've been on SERPID, and it's the regional planning agency, they haven't done much regional planning. They've done individual planning for the region. And we are now starting an environmental committee on SERPID.
Regional. for that.
Regional.
So that's gonna change all of this, because that's what this sewer and water is.
And I don't know if it's gonna work, but Michael's going after a grant to do a regional plan between Dartmouth, Westport, and Little Compton, across state lines. And I think that's the future. That's the only way you're gonna get anybody to look at you who's got money to give out. I mean, so anyway, that's,
But not to reiterate too much, but the thing with Amy yesterday and the need to fill that position, we can't stop what Mike's been doing.
no,
So
we can't
Yeah.
go.
we need to add to that.
We
So when
can't
you
go
say,
back.
what is the need for these
Actually,
more? It's extreme.
we need more people
Right.
than filling Amy's. So,
There's actually, and Bob was mentioned, John brought you up, Bob, and our volunteer engineer, elected volunteer engineer that we have for the town of Westport.
Yeah, I'd love to have someone to come in and run wild with the complete streets plan.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of, there's a lot of need to connect to
The
different.
money, we are,
There's
you
so
know,
much money out there.
before you came here, how many grants did we write? Zero. I mean, this water main, this PFAS grant, it's the first one in 30+ years. And they haven't applied for another one yet. I mean, why haven't we asked for another one? We have the Sanford Road issue.
Yeah.
We have all of those issues. They need to, we can't stop there.
You gotta keep the momentum going,
Right.
because once you get the funds and, that gives you justification to keep having another bite at the apple.
So, okay, so correspondence. We have a couple of notices.
Yeah, we have 2 notices from the zoning board of appeals. One is looks like someone's trying to deconstruct and then reconstruct a residence that has a non-conforming front yard setback. But the main one, which I think is really important for this board to pay attention to, is a zoning board of appeals notice for 1180 American Legion Highway. This is in the Aquifer Protection District, and they're looking to construct 3 additional storage buildings. Because it is in the Aquifer Protection District, it requires zoning board of appeals approval. I've reviewed the plan and notified the zoning board of appeals that this is going to require site plan approval and low impact development approval. Roger Menard actually just during this meeting emailed me asking about how long they should continue it out to, and I honestly think that with the location of it and it requiring a low impact development approval and having seen the plan, they may want to end up requesting a withdrawal without prejudice, but that's for the ZBA to decide. But this will need to come before the planning board at some point.
Have they already started construction?
They have started doing site work, and this initially came up about a month ago. I think Nadine told me to go over there and go take a look at the site. And from eyeballing the site, I estimated that they were getting pretty close to needing that low impact development
So
approval, just seeing the site disturbance.
Right, so this is the old Montessori school?
Yes. And the use that they're proposing with the ZBA is storage, and they're proposing 3 different storage facilities, 3 different storage buildings on that site, along with drainage, and on-site drainage, and so it's going to require, it's over an acre in disturbance, so it requires low impact development. Anyway, I had notified Ralph that, this needs to get looked at, and they need to bring in plans, because I wasn't sure. I knew for sure that they needed zoning board of appeals approval, but they also needed to
Build it first, I
come in
have
for the
permission.
planning board approval. So this will come before the planning board at some point in time, so.
We gave them site plan approval originally, right?
No, we didn't. So
No?
there was a pre-application consult for batting cages about 2 years ago. I think it was the first planning board hearing that I came to.
I thought I remembered when they came in asking to do this convert and use it for storage. And there was a discussion about not disturbing it all along the road, along 177, and
They may have come in for a pre-app consult for that as well at some point, but there has been no new established use since it was a school.
all right. But clearly, this, as you said, there's been work going on there, so.
There's been work going on there, yeah, which is why I looked and then had enough to start.
So what does Roger want to know?
He emailed me asking how long they should continue their ZBA hearing, because legal counsel has advised the ZBA that they should go to the planning board for site plan approval first. And just
I don't
knowing,
know, knowing the applicant and knowing the process, I think it would take a while.
the level of detail, I
Right.
think, it's probably going to require several continuances, and
Right.
so I think in order, so they don't get themselves into an awkward position with the constructive approval or something
Yeah,
like that, they
I
should
would-
probably just withdraw the application.
Yeah, I think that's what I would suggest.
Mr. Chair, so the application to the ZBA, what was that for? Because why are they going before the ZBA right now?
They're in the Aquifer District.
Change
Need a
change of
special
use
permit.
in the Aquifer Protection District?
So now the ZBA has that jurisdiction on that?
On the Aquifer Protection District.
So
Yeah.
could, if they went and spent all the money on site plan review, could the ZBA deny them? I'm just wondering, like, which direction should they go versus spending all the money on site plan review and then they were gonna get denied by the ZBA? Or would site plan review solve the issues that the ZBA has?
Be two separate tracks, so yeah, that's the risk. that
Site
we're
plan
on.
review could possibly solve where they wouldn't have to go to ZBA?
Well, they would still have to go to the ZBA, and they would still have to get the use approved too.
Okay.
And I think the use is up in the air, as to whether or not the zoning bylaw allows the proposed use. And, yeah, I mean, that's the risk that they would run in bringing forth an application.
I'm just wondering if it would be better to do the ZBA first versus, you know, if they're saying they want to continue it for us.
Well, I don't know how they could if they haven't done the site plan review
Okay.
to determine whether or not it's a big impact to the Aquifer Protection District or not. The change of use, I think, is pretty straightforward, but the Aquifer Protection District needs information, I mean, to make a decision. So, okay. Minutes of September 10th?
Mr. Chair, I've read the minutes. They're long and complex, but as far as I can tell, they're accurate and complete, so I would move. And as we have started to do, they include all the attachments that we use to make our decisions. So I would move approval of the minutes of September 10th, 2024.
Mr. Chair, I would, I've also read them and would second that, but I think we need, do we need to adopt the executive session minutes separately from the regular meeting?
We can't do executive session minutes in open session.
I think we can, but I think executive session minutes can be public,
Yes.
Well, are they?
but it's a separate motion,
They're separate motions.
yeah.
I think,
I'm
that-
just
I'm not,
doing the minutes of the planning board meeting, not the executive session.
But I'm, yeah.
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Now, with the executive session minutes, I don't know that we can make them public until the issue is,
Yeah,
Resolved.
I don't think we make them,
so
at
I
some
think
point,
we
there's
just-
there's
we
like a
will- We will
timeline.
bring them back up, but
Well,
You can leave them until the next time we're in executive session.
This basically says we went in and we went out, but
No, it has the details. So, it has the details of our discussion about a lawsuit against us, so.
No?
I have one here, my, nope. They're in the 3-ring binder.
Yeah, I don't think I have it in here.
Mr. Chairman, why don't we lay the adoption of the executive session on the table?
On the table. We have a motion,
move to table the minutes of the executive session.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Matters not reasonably anticipated within 48 hours?
Last night at the select board's meeting, they formed an offshore wind advisory committee, and there will be no representation from the climate resilience committee. It'll just be from the planning board, so John will be the representative.
So,
Well,
I,
if they choose to appoint him. They haven't appointed anyone yet.
right, but we can change our minds
Yeah.
tonight. So, I would like to consider making Bob the designated person from this board, with John being the alternate. So if Bob can't attend, John can attend. And I think that is good, or if the nature of what's going to be discussed at the meeting is more in John's, you can beg out and let him go. And
Yeah, I think that's good, because I think when we discussed this, we said, well, they want both the CRC and the planning board, and that I mentioned that I thought this was primarily an issue of infrastructure, and Bob chaired the infrastructure committee on the CRC, so I was gonna name him, I did name him the interim CRC until we had a chance. So I think if they're not gonna have a CRC, I still think it's primarily an issue of infrastructure. So I think I'm fine with Bob being the prime guy, as long as he's willing to do it.
I'll be happy to do that.
And if he can't do it, or if the issue is something else, I'll be an alternate. But I know the other thing they were worried about is they didn't want to have 3 members of the planning board, because that would mean you'd have a quorum of the planning board in
Right.
attendance. So
Yep.
I think that's smart.
I think it's challenging with a lot of members on the board too to have quorum.
Yeah.
as we know.
So could we get a motion to amend the planning board's recommendation to have Bob as the main appointee and John as the alternate?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Move to adjourn.
No, we got one thing. We need to list Amy's position.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have a recommended job description?
I need to see what we have for a job description,
Okay.
and then I will revise it, and I'll send it to all of you. And then I'd like to get it posted within a week.
Okay. So I think we need a motion.
I would
To
move that
post it?
we post the position with a job description and salary as determined by the chair and the town planner.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now,
I move to adjourn.
please.
Oh,
For the
I don't know what you're waiting for. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.